Something that can be seen as problematic that I do is I like to ask people if they have certain mental conditions off the bat if I detect it. This has actually led to me being kind of a magnet to other autistic people because they appreciate the upfrontness. It's like hardly ever been an issue. The only person who's had an issue so far is this very one person who just was like, "Ooh, see, shit like this is why I have issues socializing in public and it gives me anxiety. If I were in that situation, I'd be so mad." Like, it's like, okay, good, you won't be in that situation because me and you are not talking. Any other time, though, if I've ever brought it up to a person, usually 9 times out of 10, they're like, "Holy shit, what makes you say that?" And then I either one, explain their symptoms so well that they go, "Holy shit, I think you're right. I think I do have that." Or two, they get to learn something new about the condition. They've hardly ever been hostile about it. Like the very last, this guy I've been dating for a little bit. He's sweet. I remember on our first date, like anytime I told him a story or an anecdote or said anything, he was like, "Interesting. Okay, cool. That is funny." Like with a totally straight face, totally deadpan look. And at some points I thought, he seems like he fucking hates this. He seems like he does not like this whatsoever. But I also noticed that sometimes he would do certain emotional things where he'd try to make his face go a certain way to like smile or like give us, it looked like he was pre-planning his reactions and wasn't entirely nailing it. He also could not truly tell what were and were not jokes. And I'll put it this way, I spent like most of my fucking life in special ed. I've been around autistic people a large portion of my life. I know how it is. So if I really had to fucking guess, based off of all the autistic people I've known and befriended, all the autistic people I've dated, and more, I was gonna, it's like, okay, it's one of two options. Either one, he totally fucking hates me, but is out here spending like an obscene amount of time on this date because he's solely attracted to me. Plausible. Or two, he may have autism or be on the spectrum in a way that others can't detect. This is the thing. I only bring it up if it's like super surreal. I don't just go around asking any motherfucker who sits by themselves at a social event or who can't make eye contact with me if they're autistic. It has to, like, I really will be in my head like, yes, yes, I am detecting a 95% chance. And so I just asked him, I was like, "Can I ask you something? I mean no offense by it." And he was like, "Sure." I was like, "Do you happen to be like on the autism spectrum?" And he was like, "Oh, no, no, not at all. Why would you say that?" And like at first it seemed like he was kind of faking offended, but it did seem like he had a secret. I explained how I have autism and stuff, and I talked about my specific symptoms, my specific experiences. I talked about how sometimes I can be experiencing amazing joy and my face doesn't really move, or how I miss out on social cues, how I can't fully understand sarcasm or certain jokes, and certain little things like that. And then he just kind of eventually he waited, and then he just was like, "Okay, I'll admit." And then he admitted that he actually did get tested for autism before. And he lightened up dramatically. He was like, "Okay, I did get tested for autism before, but I mean, I was young and they couldn't detect it. Like, they weren't sure. And then they never really followed up on it. So I wasn't sure. But thank you for telling me this." And then we actually had a heart to heart conversation where they talked about their experiences. I talked about mine. And then they even asked me more questions because, they didn't fully understand autism. And then the more I explained it, the more they were like, "Oh, shit. That. Ah." And that's what I mean. I never say it to degrade a person. I never say it to make them feel like shit about themselves. I never say it publicly. Only if I'm one on one with a person and if it's like extremely detected. Funny enough, I've dated multiple men where I would just be kind of like, hmm. If anything, it's just so that if I can understand someone's. Because how do I put this? Otherwise, I would have just thought this guy fucking sucks and he hates me and he's not even good at pretending that he does not hate me. Because the way neurotypicals act and the way they show themselves and stuff is very different than how someone with autism might act or someone with ADHD might act. So if I'm on a date with someone and then the whole time they're just like staring at me like they fucking hate me, and then, but like, then I would just be like, okay, I'm gonna have to take it at face value that they don't like me, because if I don't, then I'm gonna be missing out on an obvious red flag that this person is not into me. There was this girl I met last Thursday. I was at a comedy show. She approached me, we were talking, and I was like, okay, so either she's extremely rude and a dumbass, she's really drunk and a dumbass, and rude, but just really drunk, so I can excuse it with her being drunk, or she has severe ADHD. And I just kind of thought to myself, okay, you know what? This has gotten so, like, she was asking questions, and before I could even, like, say two words to answer it, she would already be on her, like, 10th question. Like her mind was going a mile a minute. Nothing was inherently wrong with that. It's just like I wanted her to slow down just 20% so I could catch up with her. And then if I did answer a question, she would never really remember what I said because her mind was going a mile a minute. I know how that is because, no offense, I'm pretty sure I have ADHD myself. And that happens for me, just a lot less severely. Even then, I just kind of was like, okay, yeah, there's a high chance I'm going to walk out of this conversation and be super upset. So let me just ask it before I leave. And I was like, hey, I asked, I mean this with no offense entirely. Do you think you might happen to have ADHD or anything like that? And she was like, no, no, what makes you say that? And I said, oh, because, you've been asking, like, a lot of questions, and then before I could answer them, you ask, like, 10 more on top of that, and it doesn't feel like it feels like the conversation is going really fast. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I said, no, no, don't feel bad, don't feel bad. You have done, like, you're fine, you're fine. Like, and then, like, I talked to her more about it, like, without any judgment. I was just like, yeah. And I explained how some of my symptoms of ADHD aligned symptoms can be like, and how it functions for me. And then once I started going down the list of how it's like for me, she was like, holy shit, actually, wait, I think you might be onto something. And that's what I usually go for. It's like, either because worst case scenario, if you don't have it, you get to learn about a condition and be more open-minded for other people and learn, and it closes the gap between someone thinking there's no way I could be this because I'm this, when in reality you're a lot closer than you think. Or it makes people actually fucking realize, oh shit, maybe I should get diagnosed. And by the end of us talking, she was just so much like, holy shit, that explains a lot. And I even told her, yeah, I have a homie who's got autism and ADHD, and he does the same thing. And my old buddy Seamus, he has ADHD. And I kind of, like, the way he functioned was that he could be talking about a topic and then it could dramatically shift into another topic with absolutely no segue. It could be like, oh my god, I don't think I'm going to make it as a comedian. It's so hard out there and the comedy scene is so tough. And I bench press with 280 fucking pounds every single day. And I eat raw chicken every single day, 6 a.m., 12 p.m., 4 p.m. I walk 10 miles to work and I can fuck the shit out of you. I love women who look like you. And I would be like, hey, we were just talking about comedians a second ago. You might have to... like, I care about you, and I love this topic. But, like, would you like to complete a topic first, or do you plan to go back to them, or or do we just flow with the waves and I enjoy whatever you say? And he was like, yeah, fuck. Like, and we figured out a way that worked for us to both properly communicate and understand each other at a mutual pace. Funny enough, I detected autism in Seamus too. He told me about his ADHD sooner than his autism. Only like fucking 6 months into our friendship did he tell me about him having autism. And I remember at some point, like I said, sometimes it happens because I care for a person. Sometimes it happens because I'm pissed off, but still care for a person. I just was like, hey Seamus, I gotta ask, and I mean no offense about this, do you happen to have autism? He was like, what the fuck? Like, yes, I do. Why the fuck does that matter? And I said, oh, I don't know, because you have extreme rejection sensitivity, extreme fucking dysphoria. You often get paranoid of other people. You don't understand social cues well. And then I listed, like, at that point, he actually did piss me off hard leading up to that. And I just listed out, like, dude, you're super fucking paranoid that everyone's out to get you. You always misread social cues. Everybody's your friend, but you're always paranoid that they're treating you wrong or secretly scheming about you behind the scenes. Like, and this, that, and the other. And then I told him, I'm not bringing this up because I hate you and want to make you feel bad. I'm bringing this up because I'm autistic and I do the same shit. I just want you to be aware that you can't keep going through your life saying everyone's out to get you and that, like, this, that, and the other. But also, like, how are you going to become a comedian if you don't write jokes, go to open mics, socialize, record content, or anything? How are you going to be as big as Dave Chappelle? And I just explained to him, it's okay to recognize that your autism may affect you more than you think. Trust me, I recognize that too. Sometimes it does give us certain limitations or certain unknown, like, things that can blind us from certain angles. But it's okay. I still love you and care about you. I just want to make sure that you're truly working from the best, like that. Because this, from me, from someone with autism, who you have told about your life and your experiences and also sees the people around you and sees yourself, I'm going to admit, sometimes you be going crazy. But guess what? I still care for you. I just want to make sure you're going through life, like, without any blinders. And he actually appreciated that. He was like, you know what? I fucking needed to hear that. Thanks, Tamia. And that's what I'm going for. Because otherwise, he would have let his fucking many, many things that he had blind him and think that everyone was out to get him and that he was doomed. And it's like, no, I hate to break it to you. You're just autistic and struggling with social cues in a weird social scene, and people can be strange, but not everyone's strange, and you're still gonna make it, buddy. We care for you and we love you. Anyway, but my experience with him and his super intense ADHD helped with my dealing with my with that girl I met on Thursday. And me and her by the time we were done talking, she was like, "Thank you. I have some shit I got to talk to my therapist about now." Shit, I gotta get tested for ADHD, because holy shit, I fit everything you listed. And like I said, I don't whip that shit out just like at random. I truly will have to, like, hell, sometimes I will wait a while and peer review you in my mind with my friends. I'll be like, hey, y'all, can I tell you about this guy I'm with? And I'll tell them every fucking detail, not sparing shit. And they'll be like, yeah, absolutely 100%. Goddamn. Like, he's definitely on this. He's one of us. Some people don't like to have labels, but they can help, because you can figure out certain coping mechanisms or certain groups of people that you may, like, be able to learn things from or have things in common with. Truly, trust me, I have this one friend on Discord. I was talking about this one really niche, like, mental experience I have that I'm not telling you about yet. And then she was just straight up like, oh, I think you got, and she told me the shit that she thinks I got, that she has, and then she listed it out, and I was like, holy shit, me and you have the exact same shit. No one else I've met in my life has this before. Wow. And then she told me her coping mechanisms, and some of them were funny as fuck, and we got to talk about some of the darker shit. And that's why I hate whenever people talk about, ooh, why do you need a label so bad? Oh, you just want to be different? No, it's because you are different, and you've been different your whole fucking life. You're just finding a way to either not feel as different from other people and cope with your life and have an easier time existing. Or you're trying to just, like, it's like you ain't gotta assimilate. You can just be embraced by people who are just like you and won't make you feel shit. Like, it only offends certain people who have closed-minded opinions or mindsets, or who have a bit of an ego. But then usually once I explain, like, no, I say this as someone who has this, and I'm noticing comparisons between you and me and similarities, and I just want to make sure that I'm, like, respecting your boundaries, or, like, aware of certain things so that I don't misconstrue anything. And then they understand. And then, funny enough, it's made me a magnet to certain people who actually do think they have autism, because they'll be like, hey, Tamia, uh what does it mean when I can only eat like 4 foods and every other food fucks me up hard, and I can live that way for the rest of my life, and I fucking suck at social cues, and they'll tell me about everything in depth. And I will just, like, if it seems like it's giving off major alarms, I'll be like, hey, just so you know, people with BPD, especially women, do tend to get misdiagnosed, because they aren't, like, people don't really diagnose for autism in women like that. It could help to get properly diagnosed. Or I'll let someone know, like, hey, because it's like, yeah, some people can slip under the radar. Some people won't be detected by me. Absolutely. I just like to let people know that, hey, just in case you're wondering, this is an option for you. And, like, there's a lot of resources and people out there that can also help, like, make it easier. Like the last guy I dated, Jared, he was a hot fucking mess in a lot of ways. I didn't need to say that. I'm sorry. That's not relevant to the topic of this video. But guess what? The second, like, I didn't do it with him. We just started hanging out more and more and more. And he was like, wow, I have so much in common with Tamia. I have so much in common with Tamia. I've never met someone in my life like her. And the only other 2 friends I have really intense autism. What does that mean for me? And lo and behold, they took every fucking online diagnostic test they could for autism. I know it's not a 100% guarantee, but I will tell you, they got passing flying colors on each of them bitches. And then they kind of went like, and then we started having more candid fucking conversations, and they were like, oh shit. Alright. And sometimes they try to go, I don't think I have autism. And I'll be like, I mean, and then I'll just start being like, sucks at social cues, and they'll be like, okay, fuck. But only then is that when I'm doing it in jest. I remember with my other ex before that, Morgan, I remember I was like, listen, dude, I'm gonna be honest, I think you really have an autism. He was like, what makes you say that? And I said, well, it seems like you hyperfixate on, like, your special interest, which is Marvel comic books and anything DC and superheroes. You dedicate all your time to either buying stuff dedicated to it or organizing your comic books, or you often spend time alone just organizing your books alone for hours, or playing video games about the Marvel superheroes. You don't really do good at socializing, at least from what you've told me. You said that's something you struggle with. You said that you often don't do well with social cues, and that you're afraid to leave your friends because you're not sure you actually get any more outside of them. That you often feel like you have to put on a persona to be liked and lie about things to be liked. and act a certain way, even if it's not truly who you are as a person, and hide things about yourself. And I went down the list. If anything, I remember I got up to 18 reasons, and like 18 fucking intense reasons about their sensitivity to smell, about their hygiene sensitivity, about potential contamination OCD, about as much as I could that I knew on the subject. And they were like, holy fucking shit, damn. Like, they were laughing their ass off. They thought they were being roasted, but I was dead serious. And then guess what? Guess what? We took as many diagnostic tests that we could find that other people with autism recommended. Like, hey, take these tests. They will at least give you a very good sign of if you're on the spectrum or not. And guess what? He passed that shit with flying colors too. We had the best sex ever that night to celebrate the fact that I I remember we were answering every single question, and he was like, a lot of these questions feel a little bit too targeted towards me. And I was like, just for it to be like, oh, look, 99.7 chance of on the spectrum neurotypical. I laughed my ass off, he laughed his ass off, and then we found out some coping mechanisms for him, and he started learning shit, and that helped. And I'd say that's like the end goal. It's not to make someone feel like shit for how they are. It's not to make someone feel embarrassed. It's just so that I know, because guess what? If that last guy I went on a date with, his name is Eric, he's very sweet. Otherwise, I would have went, okay, he's not making eye contact, and he's just like fucking frowning this whole date, and he doesn't seem like his voice is doing certain vocal inflections to perceive like any emotions ever. I think he actually fucking hates me and can't wait for this date to be over. But in reality, no, he just is actually a very sweet dude who just, like me, struggles to emote, to show their emotions, doesn't always like, and same for their voice and other little things. And then, or it could be like, or if I'm talking to someone and they have like, yeah, I remember I once met this fucking girl at this college in my city, and she definitely, I just knew off the bat because she just sat down directly next to me in an empty room and then started openly joking about the stuff that was on her laptop next to me, even though I couldn't see or hear what was going on. And I thought to myself, this seems strange. Is she talking aloud to herself, or is this her attempt at socializing? But I'll entertain it. And then next thing you know, I was at her fucking apartment on campus, and she was just telling me all about these, like, she has a specific, she's obsessed with the Sims. I think it's her hyperfixation. Like, it's the one thing you that she always talks about, really nothing else. And they all are designed to look like fruit and berries. Cool concept, actually. And then, like, she just, I'll put it this way, it's one of those things where you just kind of detect it, like stoic face, no vocal inflections, no ability to express emotion, extremely bad at social cues, but an urge to socialize with people nonetheless, even if they do it awkwardly. No real boundaries for themselves, but also no real boundaries for other people. Extremely blunt, very forward in communication, and then like on and on and on. But I remember with her, I kind of asked similar, and she wasn't offended at all. She was like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. And she just described how, because of her religious upbringing and like the city, she grew up in like fucking Utah or Colorado or something, and her family was just like, because of that, she didn't really care. It was like, okay, they want me to get married and have kids. I'm not questioning the status quo. I'll do whatever I'm told as long as I can focus on fruit sims all day. And she's very chill. And aside from that, she also mentioned that she might be fucking gay. So that was fun. It's like by the end of our conversation, she was like, okay, might be autistic and might be gay. Shout out to them. But in reality, yeah, it helps a lot. And usually, 9 times out of 10, it actually leads to a more enhanced experience. Once they get past the little ego part of, why the fuck would they say that? Then it's like, oh, she means it in, like, she just wants to make sure that she's communicating with me healthily and understanding my lifestyle and the way I do things. And yeah, like, that's truly what I want, just for people to feel accepted. So if I bring it up to someone, it's like, I mean that shit highly, I detect it, and then I just want to make sure that you're safe, loved, and cared for, and not feeling like you're an anomaly. Because I don't know, imagine someone could go their whole life with a problem or issues, and they think, oh my god, I'm some degenerate weirdo freak, I'm too much, I'm not enough, and then they wake up one day and go, oh shit, wait, never mind, I was just showing signs of autism and ADHD. That's why. That helps. Like, I remember I denied my autism for a long time, and then it was almost a decade later that I was like, oh, wait. That, oh, okay, so it turns out I don't have like seven different disabilities at once and I'm a freak of nature. Turns out I just have autism and it affects me. Wow! Who would have guessed that the doctor, when I was 12, diagnosed me correctly? Wowzers. So, yeah. Anyway, like I said, it's never to shit on someone or make them feel bad. I only bring it up if I truly think they're someone who, like, they could have an easier time in their life, regardless. And people like me for that reason, because I'm blunt and straightforward, and I won't be around the bush, but I also won't make them feel fucking bad for their existence. That's the opposite of what I want. And if you're like, ooh, well, you're still an asshole for doing so, okay, well, there's a lot of people on this planet where if you had a disability that not even you knew about, and then they could detect it before you did, they would just call you a freak or a retard, and they would ask for you to fucking kill yourself. Meanwhile, me, I'm just like, hey, just so I know, so that we can have an easier time chit chatting, uh, you remind me of me in this way. Are you this? If not, okay, cool, maybe I'm just projecting. And then that's about it. So maybe you should keep that in your mind. Just, and if I can make someone not feel like a freak of nature and make them feel welcomed, I will.